Hey, thanks for visiting this channel. I know it's been a while since we posted some content of this nature anyway, but just in traffic, so I just wanted to share a few things with you guys. Yeah, if you've ever been interested or wondered about some things regarding marriage, relationships, partnerships, I just wanted to share a few things, some things that I've learned, some things that I've picked up, and some things I've had in conversations about marriage, relationships, and partnership. And on this channel, it's all about, sharing things that we can learn from each other, about relationships, about things that we do in life, whatever types of journey that we go through, right? And I just want to share a few things that I've learned, a few things that I've picked up, and hopefully this will be useful for you guys. So, we're going to say some things that maybe people don't agree with, maybe things that people don't necessarily maybe even understand. But this channel is all about having good, honest conversations about men stuff, but also women stuff to some extent. And it's all about relationships. So today, just wanted to cover a few things about marriage, specifically marriage. I always seem like I'm pronouncing that a little bit different. So marriage, relationships, partnerships. So stick with me. You might enjoy this. You might find it useful. If not, maybe just use it for a bit of a laugh. Humor me. But yeah, stick with me. We're going to share a few things. So keep it locked. Okay, here's the thing, or rather, here's a question. What makes marriages, partnerships, whatever you want to call it, successful? Or, here's another question. What's part and parcel of making marriages and relationships last longer? And here's a few things I've learned. And this might get you guys thinking, or at least these views are my own, so I guess I should put that as a disclaimer. These views are my own, and they're not intended to make people follow this advice or go and preach this. This platform is all about, as I mentioned before in the intro, is about building conversation or having a conversation about things that affect men as well as women. And and that may be so many different things, marriage, investments, and all that kind of stuff, but focusing on this, and we're talking purely about relationships and marriage. And I've come to realize something. Again, this is my own personal musings and understanding. Marriage, relationships, partnerships is not about the destination. It's about the journey. In life and whatever things that we do, we all learn through we are through learning, being part of the process, and strengthening whatever things that it is that we learn, whether it be a course, university, whatever it is. One might argue that all those fundamental principles are more or less the same. For some reason, there's something about marriages that doesn't quite, or relationships, partnerships, right? There's always that, what do they say, the honeymoon period, where you all first sort of, well, it's not the honeymoon period, I can't remember what the phrase is, but the first few adventures in the beginning, you're dating, you're wooing her off her feet, you're taking her to fancy restaurants, maybe even holidays if you do that kind of stuff. If you're from a Christian background, make sure you go through counseling first. You go through all those nice things, buying each other gifts, and those pillow talks like late at night and all that kind of good stuff. And then you go into a stage of comfortability, and that stage of comfortability kind of it's still good, but may become a bit of like sort of, I don't know, you're getting closer to the sort of comfortable stage, right? So anyway, to cut the long story short, we're talking about marriage. There's this article I was reading about where it was saying about the more how you are comfortable with the person that you love. There are all these little things, right? So you might feel farting might be natural to you, or even when you're sleeping together, farting in front of each other might be natural for you, for the both of you. And also when you go to sleep, so when you're first, in the early part of the relationship, you're kissing and cuddling and you're all, hugging each other when you're sleeping and stuff like that. But as you get older and you progress in the relationship, and even when you're in marriage as well, is, the first thing you want to do is you just want to get into bed, lie down and fall asleep. So that cuddling and all that kind of stuff goes away. And it's not to say that it goes away because you don't have love for each other. It's just a natural progression of what happens in relationships. Now, when I say that, for me personally, for what I've seen, what I've observed, is that marriage is a journey, is a destination, and you're learning together as you go along. And you go through phases of age, phases of jobs, profession, hobbies, and kind of stuff. And there's going to be all these different things that come into the equation that, for whatever reason, may, slightly pull you away from your partner or might bring you closer together. Various reasons. And one of the things that I've noticed, this is the second point I wanted to make in this video, is that this is not about me, because I'm not talking about me. Although some of the things may be a bit relationary, if that's the word, because let's be honest, we're all human beings and we all share a similar journey, right? The second thing I've noticed a lot more of is people, when they get to their late 30s, 40s, they tend to come into this, part of their lives where, things are kind of changing. So it might be careers are changing. It might be the things that you found interesting before changing. Maybe you've spent so long building a career and you've now got to a stage where you're cruising, right? So I've learned these, there's something I was also reading about, another article was talking about, for the average person, men specifically, obviously, is that when you start your career, so in your 20s, you're kind of 20s and maybe early 30s to an extent, you're figuring out your career. And then when you get to your 30s and 40s. Okay, so I was saying, when you're in your 20s and 30s in your careers, when you're first starting off your careers, you're building your experience and you're building your career. And then by the time you get to your late 30s and 40s, really you reach a stage of kind of cruise control. We're in a way, not for all people, but for some people. So you get to a level where you've built your career and now you're kind of in cruise control and you're building your experience and you're thinking about career progression. So you've probably been in that company for a while and you're thinking about career progression. Now, when we look at marriages, it's kind of similar. So when we talk about marriages, partnerships, relationships, that sort of thing. So as you get older and you make your way through this relationship, you get to a stage where you kind of get in cruise control. And just to cover my first point I was talking about, when I mentioned that marriage, or relationships, partnerships, whatever you want to call it, particularly marriage though, let me say it to this point, is that marriage, as I say again, is not a destination but a journey. And so there are many parts of that as you grow older, you can kind of get into that cruise control when you get to your sort of later stages in life. And that's an important thing that I really wanted to cover in this video, is that you have to take time to of course you'll be doing things like date nights and all those kind of nice things, and you go on holidays together and all that kind of stuff, but it comes to a point where you have to be careful about being in cruise control. And you have to continue to work on things, because as I mentioned, marriage or relationships, partnerships are not about the journey. It's about, are not destination. It's about the journey. So as you're going through that journey, you still have to continue to learn about each other, because you're not a finished product. Nobody is. So it's all about, continuing to learn and make sure that you don't get too comfortable. And one of the things I realized, one of the things that I've seen is that people get to that juncture, sort of in that period, sort of maybe late 30s and early 40s. Some people might call it a midlife crisis, and things tend to change. As I mentioned before, the things that you like doing, or maybe your career, you might even feel like you want to change it, or you're in a position, as I mentioned before, where you're trying to grow your not grow necessarily, but climb that corporate ladder. So it's really important to make sure that at that stage in your lives, you're kind of re-engaging, re-energizing, and focusing on a lot of things that need to keep that relationship alive. And so I think the journey aspect really is about, making sure that there is, I guess, always communication, understanding each other's needs, understanding that, look, we're both at different parts of our lives and we're going through this change or this evolution in our partnership. And it's important to, rather than just getting too comfortable and just saying, okay, yeah, now you've got kids now, or we've got kids now, or I've been in my job for a long time, and now that you're in your late 30s and 40s, you're kind of just wanting to just be mellow. No, it's not about that. Trust me, it's not about that. If you're really, really focused on the future of your relationship or your partnership, you've always got to be constantly working. And this is the second thing that I wanted to say, which I've kind of covered in a little bit, is that it's all about the communication. It's all about the communication, because it's easy for people to feel like, this person no longer listens to me, or this person does an X and does X, but never feels like he wants to involve me and stuff like that. We're all gonna have our different hobbies and things that we like to do. And as I mentioned, it's quite easy that as you get older to sort of kind of slip away from the other person, because you're just like, I don't want to deal with this, like, kids and relationship or your family and this, and you like doing this and I like doing that. Yes, there's always going to be things that you like doing differently, but the most important thing, and this is the second thing, is that it's all about communication. It's about taking the time to learn that, hang on a second, your partner is going through a stage or certain things that are changing in their lives, and guess what, it's going to be the same for the other person. So it's all about communicating. But that communication is so important because it allows you to get to a stage where you talk openly about things. And the thing is, the ego has got to go off the window. The ego has got to go. You've got to really take it down to a basic level and you know what, whilst things may be frustrating for you, you've just got to sit down and be like, hang on a second, we need to just strip away all the ego, everything, family, friends, or whatever, and just be like, look, I acknowledge that you're going through this, and I acknowledge that you're going through this, and we need to realign. And I think that's really important, because you've had that stage where you're first married, and then you move in and you have kids, or whatever it is. You move into a new apartment, you move to a new house, new area, new country, whatever it is. Communication is always going to be the thing, because it's going to get to a point where you need to communicate just to make sure that you're still on the same path. So some people might have visions, ideas, things they want to do, whether that's business or whether that's whatever it is. I could list a whole host of things, but I think it's really about sitting down and saying, okay, you're going through this thing, and acknowledging it. And so, as I mentioned before, even at the beginning of the videos, I've seen a lot of people where sort of in their late 30s, 40s, a few people, I'm not saying a lot. And as I mentioned before, disclaimer, this is not about anybody specific. So, you lot in the comments, before you come after me and all that kind of stuff, this isn't about you. We're just having honest conversations here. This is a men's platform, but it's also for women. They want to get to know their men, what's going through their men. And, men are different creatures from women. That's the other thing, and whilst women may be a bit more more emotionally based, what I'm talking about is rooted in biology and facts. So again, before you come at me with your comments, I'm just being open and real here. Men are, and it's not necessarily say that, one or the other is not more emotional or more logical than the other. It's just what we're naturally what's the word I'm looking for, set biology from a biological point of view. So you look at men tend to be more logical across the board, across everything, and that's whilst women have tend to be more emotional based human beings. That's not a bad thing, but also logical. But if you look at it from a man's perspective, we look at things a little bit differently. But anyway, we're not going to go into a men versus women debate here. What I'm trying to say is that we're all wired differently, and men tend to, when faced in particular situations, look at things differently than what women would look at. And I hope that makes sense. And so the point of that is that, with everything, it's just we've got to take time to understand the differences and the way men look at our roles and responsibilities versus women look at their roles and responsibilities. And we're going to go through different shifts as we approach certain age groups, just as much as women do. So, so as I mentioned before, from different, places and things that I've sort of observed, is that there tends to be when this midlife, I'm not going to call it midlife crisis, but midlife age comes across where, things start to shift. So like I mentioned before, careers and all that kind of stuff. So it's important to take time and communicate all those things. So yeah, it's just something that I was thinking about, and I just thought I'd share it. So it's been something that I've been picking up in conversations recently, and we've just got to be real. We've got to talk about these things and find out why, some of the root causes of why people end up going certain separate ways, especially in their late 30s and early 40s. So people might call it a bit of a phenomena. So, it's something that we need to talk about. So for me, I just always think that, from my perspective, that marriage is all about the journey. It's not about, the destination, because through the journey you can learn, and you always have the opportunity to change things. You're experiencing things, or on that journey with your life partner, you've always got to be working out whatever things are changed, whatever things are different and stuff, and you got to basically just come together and work things. And some people might say, well, but isn't destination the same thing? Yes, probably, but I think why I have an issue with the term destination sometimes is that it's sometimes relationships and partnerships can be looked at from a physical or materialistic attaining sort of point of view. So it's like, it's all about the big wedding. So it's about, I want a 3,000 pounds jewelry engagement ring, and then I want a $4,000 ring, to solidify the marriage on the wedding day, and I want to spend 25 grand on the wedding itself. I want this dress, and you've got to be wearing this, you've got to match me, and you've got to do this. So sometimes I feel like when the destination aspect is focused on, we lose sight of the fact that every relationship is all about the journey. It's about the stages that you go through. And I've heard also people say different things about, you got to choose the right life partner. Yeah, you do. But that's also difficult. And so why I think it's more about the journey, I think it's all about taking the time to, find the right partner. And some people might rightfully say, yeah, well, I took that time, I went for counseling, and I did all those things. I involved family, older sisters, older brothers, uncles, aunties, and all that kind of stuff. But look what happened, so-and-so ended up being a trifling so-and-so. And that's the thing. But for those people that are still in the journey, and have managed to stay in the journey, I still think the work is not done. You got to keep doing the work, to make sure that it carries on. So whatever age you reach, so if you might have met in the 20s and you reach your 30s and reach your 40s, every few years, whether it's 10 years, 5 years, whatever, you've got to constantly come back and have conversations about, what's the next stage of this relationship, of this family, of me and you. And that's why I think the communication aspect is important. So one, it's all about the journey, and two, it's about the communication, because I feel like that's what's always going to ensure that you're on the same level. And if you're not on the same level, communication allows you to find out about those things, so you can, build the next part of your future the right ways. So yeah, that was just a little bit of something. Be interested to know you guys' thoughts. Leave a comment. Share this video if you want to use it as a talking point, or even if you just think, oh gosh, this guy's talking out of his bum, but hey, indulge me, do it at my expense. But at the same time, just want to share this to as many people as want, get everybody to, or get some people, whoever wants to comment, to get involved and stuff. And that's just a little bit of mine. Hey, not forgetting, if this is the first time you've been here, please click subscribe and the notification bells. Notification bells just means whenever I put a new video, then basically you get a notification. And for some of you that are not new, thanks for watching. Feel free to share it, thanks a lot for watching. Peace.